What is up, world? DJ Ollie Red back in the building with a brand new episode of the All Things House podcast. Today is our first episode of 2023. So today, like I said, very special episode. First episode of the brand new year. We have Joey G, based out of LA. He runs a record label, DJ, all around a good dude.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like we've been chatting a lot online. I feel like that was kind of like the norm for everybody, especially during the pandemic. And now we're finally getting to chat
it up, right?
Face to face, and I'm excited to be here.
Man, we're excited to have you here, bro, for sure. Yeah, I think we met. Did we meet during the pandemic or a little like in it? Well, I mean, and we're still in a pandemic,
it's
but
all
like
blurred, yeah. No, and we connected a lot online. I think I think based on a lot of it is like, and this is how I've connected with a lot of people is just based on our love for music and kind of having similar goals and wanting to connect and just being people that love talking to people, and that's why I'm happy I'm here now too.
Hell yeah, bro. All right, so let's get right into it, man. So we like to get our guests kind of backgrounds in the beginning so they can kind of the crowd can relate to you. So can you explain from the beginning, like your musical
from the very beginning? Yes. So I'm from St. Louis, and I kind of knew I always wanted to get out to LA, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do just yet. I obviously love music. Did I want to be an actor? Did I want to get into music? I was kind of those dreams. And when I graduated college, I think I had applied to some jobs that were out in LA because I knew I wanted to get out in LA. And the one job that actually landed was my first job out of college was driving the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile around the country.
The actual one?
The actual one.
Holy shit.
And so that came out of nowhere. And so my first year out of college, I was driving the Wienermobile across the country, and what certainly wasn't a part of the plan, but it became the plan. And after that, I had actually applied to a job at Snapchat, and got a job at Snapchat working there for about 5 years.
Okay.
And during that time when I had gotten out here, being from St. Louis, like the music that I was really introduced to and was exposed to was very different than I think if I had grown up in LA and I'd been around, I think, more of the culture in more of the music scene, been able to go to these raves as a younger kid. And, I was kind of experiencing all that for the first time when I got out here.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool. And I kind of found a new love for it. And I started digging into a lot of electronic music and house music. And that's when I kind of decided, I want to try and DJ. I want to try and, do this and have some fun with it as a creative outlet. And around that same time, I started a project called Green Room, which was really geared towards where I lived on the West Side. It was like, I was going back and forth from the West Side to, downtown and, East Side and all over to these warehouses. And I was like, why can't we have that kind of on the West Side too? And I knew it kind of existed, but a lot of it was kind of based around more bars. The venues weren't really around on the West Side like they are, like warehouses, obviously.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of what that project was geared around. It was bringing that energy and that the vibe you get from those warehouses and those parties to the West Side, and had a lot of fun doing that. And then that's where lots of practice eventually came out of.
When you say West Side, for all the viewers that aren't kind of in our area, what West Side are you talking about?
I mean, it was mainly like Santa Monica, Venice, that area, Culver City, even a little bit too. We actually had a venue that was like, we found it on it was like Pier Space, and it was supposed to be like a coffee shop slash, it was used for like filming scenes, and maybe if you want to use it for like a movie scene or like, we just rented it out. It was not supposed to be used for little warehouse parties, and I say little, it was like 100-person cap, and that was pushing it.
Yeah.
And that was like, the first experience was doing that. And I love the intimacy of it, and being able to be with your close friends and feeling like you were just at a friend's place. It wasn't too big. It was a small, sweaty room you got to have fun in and dance music to. And that's, the more and more we did that, the more and more in love I became with, being involved in music and kind of seeing where I wanted to go with it all.
Nice. So once that kind of, sparked off, gig wise, how far along were you?
I mean, really, the first gig was like the one I gave myself for those shows.
Okay.
And being able to open for these awesome artists that we were getting to know and friends we were bringing on. And from there is when I started to make a lot of connections in the scene and start playing some other shows here and there, very sparsely. But I think, it was just so much fun to be a part of that crew and a part of that environment that, it wasn't so much about the gigs for me then. It was like, getting that experience, and then I knew those would come along the way, and
Yeah.
just having fun with those. I think that was the main thing.
Can you explain the importance that kind of affected you, and some tidbits you can give to the viewers about being able to make connections within the scene?
Yeah, yeah. I think like it's just like how we connected. Like
Yeah.
you find that the people that are in these spaces and the people that are that love this music, we all share a lot of commonalities, and I think that's from the get go. You have something to talk about.
Hmm.
It makes connecting with people a little bit easier. And I think that there are sometimes like I'm not always the guy that like is all super like I want to connect with this person, this person. I'm always networking. Like sometimes you do need a little bit of a break from it all, and
Yeah.
you realize that you've been doing it for a while. You're like, okay, I need a little take some time for myself and practice some more self-care and not be out and about all the time. But that's
Yeah.
really how I got a lot of those first gigs and made a lot of those connections, just going out to shows, meeting people, and making those lasting connections that that I have now.
Yeah.
And the people that are, that are part of lots of practice now, and the people that are a part of, my life in the music scene. There's people like Maddie Gavin, who I met early on in doing that, and now she's super involved in lots of practice, and it's so amazing to have her insight into everything that we're doing with the label.
Hmm.
When I made the announcement about the label, a friend, Zach Peel, who works for Label Engine, reached out and like, hey, if you need distribution, I got you.
Oh,
Like, this
nice.
is in like my buddy Ryan Valenzuela. We met through the green room stuff, and he's an awesome DJ producer, all around person. He's like, let me help. Like, it's just really cool because we built those foundations. It was starting something fresh. Didn't feel like I was starting something brand new. It really felt like we were starting something together,
Like a family.
and it's just so awesome that and the family and the community aspect of it I think is huge, especially in house music and in music in general, and in kind of these small pockets. You find your people,
Yeah.
and that's what's so awesome about it.
Nice, nice, nice. So you mentioned the label.
Yeah,
Not to fast forward, I tend to jump around
yeah,
our
jump
interviews.
around. I'm all good with jumping.
So the label, you mentioned lots of practice, correct?
Yes.
That's a name.
Yep.
Can you give some background on that? Maybe like obviously the name is pretty cool, cool
Thank you.
name, and kind of the beginnings of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think coming out of the experiences that I had with Green Room, the ups and downs, the challenges that were faced, that eventually kind of setting that to the side, and figuring out kind of what's next. I think a lot of that in doing all the things we were doing was practice for something bigger, or practice for something else, and practice for daily life. I mean, I think
Yeah.
the kind of the lots of practice name kind of became a mantra before it really became the label itself. It was that all these things take lots of practice,
Hmm.
and that's really what I wanted to tell myself a lot of times. And I think that even starting the label, I had a lot of advice that was like, make sure that you have like a release or 5 releases ready to go before you start anything, or make sure you have this done before you do anything. And I just kind of started it,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh well, here we are. And that was the cool thing, is that my mom actually used to tell me this a lot. I know she's not the original quote of this, but she used to say, sometimes you just have to jump and build their wings on the way down.
Yeah.
And I think starting lots of practice, there was a lot of like internal debate for me of like, do I start it? Am I in a place to start a label? Is this the right idea? Do I know what I'm doing? And then it kind of came down to, let's just start it,
Yeah.
and let's just see what happens, and put it out there. And I think that was what was really cool, is all these people started reaching out. In our first release, I didn't even know when our first release would be, and I reached out to an artist named Puff Magic, Gwendolyn Cooper, who was our first release.
Mhm.
And I was just reaching out to her about, I was doing a mix series, and that was where I wanted to start with it and kind of build a foundation. And she was like, I'm not really doing any mixes right now, but I'll give you a release. I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna have
Even
our
better.
first release. And so we talked, and it was that was just really cool. It's just everything that kind of happened with the label at the beginning, and even now, is just through you know practicing that communication, practicing being there for others, practicing involving the community, and putting ourselves out there, and trying to shine a light on artists that maybe are seldom seen, but also giving artists an opportunity to create, and really trying to um, determine what it means for us, and for me, really, like, what it means to be a label.
Yeah.
And like, a lot of those things I didn't know right off the bat, and I'm still learning so much. I think that's what's the cool thing about it, is like, that's the whole thing with lots of practices. I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really cool about doing it, and the whole experience is being able to learn all that, and just do it firsthand,
For
and
sure.
learn from mistakes, and take challenges head on. And I think that's where a lot of this really cool, uh, everything that's happened is come from.
Dope, man. That's really dope. So
Thank you.
the green room now to go back to green room.
Yeah, let's
Um,
rewind.
so you mentioned you had some trials and maybe tribulations with that. Can you get into that, and how did those trials and tribulations help you, launch and set you up in a better path for lots of practice?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think a lot of it was like, we're doing everything for the first time.
Yeah,
And some of the friends that I was doing it with, a lot of it was we were taking these challenges head on without really knowing sometimes like what we were doing exactly until we did it.
yeah,
Learning what it means to put on a show and to present a show to others and to be there for the community and doing everything we could to really not just put on a show, but do it the right way
yeah,
and do it the way we thought was right.
yeah,
And I think we realized there's an immense responsibility that comes with being involved in music and house music in particular because of its history and because we have a privilege to put this on and respect that history when we are putting on events and to do things with more intention. I think is something we learned quite a bit, and something that I learned definitely is that not just throwing something out there, throwing names on a flyer and seeing who shows up and party and great and that's it. Is that there's a lot more to it than that.
yeah,
And I think that, it wasn't the case early on. And I think we learned throughout that experience that, when you're working with others, when you're working with a team, we all bring different things to the table. And it's a matter of, I think, respecting those intentions from everybody. And I think it was an experience that was definitely tough at times, but one that I don't think I'll forget because it definitely molded a lot of who I am in this space and things that I try to remember now and look back on and take lessons from.
yeah. Still. Yeah. So those things, obviously, you mentioned that they prepared you better for lots of practice.
Yeah,
So future
it was
things
it was the practice.
it was a practice, but
Yeah,
like you mentioned, it's one of those things that are ongoing practices.
yeah,
Um, I think a true master of arts never says they're a master. They just keep on learning. You never want to be the smartest person in any room.
yeah. And I like not being the smartest person in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
room, and I definitely don't think that I am. And
Hmm.
I try to make sure that I remind myself of that all the time. Is that I think I've learned quite a bit, but I definitely haven't learned everything, and there's
Yeah,
always something new to take in, to learn, and to listen to other people's perspectives and understand those because I can only understand something from my perspective and learn something from my own perspective.
yeah,
And sometimes listening is the best, way to go about it. And, not talking all the time and not
yeah,
being the one who's kind of overpowering situations. And that's something I learned from Green Room and those experiences too, is that, you know, my perception, though it is a part of the brand, is in my perspective and the choices that I'm making, they do have broader effects into, what we're contributing to the scene and what we're showing others who are quote unquote, I guess, on the outside, or the people that are showing up to these shows, showing them what it means to us and showing them what it can be. I think that's what something I'm focusing on with lots of practice too, is being as intentional as possible and is being super intentional around, who we're putting on, why
yeah,
we're putting them on. Um, you know, Especially somewhat as a white guy in house music and in music in particular, knowing the privilege that I have and the platform that I sometimes have given, regardless, and using that platform to lift up other people and to hopefully set an example for someone else that's out there to do the same thing and realize that like it can be done,
yeah,
and that it's still fun. Like I think there's a lot around like throwing parties that people don't. I think there's like I said with the green room stuff, there's more to it than just throwing a party. I mean, there's it's what you're speaking into existence, into the scene, and there are a lot of awesome people that are doing incredible things, and I learn from them every day.
yeah,
Looking out there and seeing what people are doing in the scene is so cool.
yeah. Still. So now with the label, do you run everything yourself? Meaning like promotions and ARs and just the everyday label management?
Learning a lot of that. I don't do it all by myself.
Okay.
I mentioned Maddie Gavin,
Manny
who's
Gavin.
been
Okay.
incredible. Yeah, she's Mad Gavs is her DJ name. She's actually playing tonight, the show we have over at Townhouse.
Okay.
And she's been playing a lot of our shows. She actually is a big help, not only just a lot of bouncing things off of and ideas and having somebody to really be in my corner and listen to, me sometimes blab on about things and
Yeah.
run ideas by her, but also on the distribution side of things, it was something she really wanted to learn and take kind of the reins on. And I was like, yeah, awesome. Like, I think that was what I was all about. Is like, we had worked together a little bit with, and she played some shows in the green room, and that's how we met. And this was something she wanted to do. I was like, awesome. Like, I want you to be able to do that. And so, it goes along with the mantra of in the label name being lots of practice.
Yeah.
Ryan Valenzuela has been a huge help on kind of the production side of things. And he's always been, he's one of those guys that's like, I got you. I'm willing to help out. Like, let's do this. And then I mentioned Zach too with Label Engine. He was the one who reached out. As soon as I announced the label, he was like, I got you for distribution. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, okay. The thing I was like, I didn't even know what I needed to do there, but he was reaching out to help me. Danny Gallagher does a bunch of our mastering. There's so many people that I think are, whether they know it or not too, and the friends that have been so supportive in the whole thing, that I feel like are a part of, what the label is, and people that have contributed to guest mixes and obviously releases, and the artists that are contributing as well. I think that's why, when I initially was coming up with like what the logo for the label was going to be, I had a bunch of ideas. I talked to a designer who kind of had a design ready, and was going to go through, and then all of a sudden he kind of backed out. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's our first little speed bump. And so I was like, I guess I'll design the logo. And the design itself is turned into a bit of a blank canvas.
Okay.
And the idea being that one, if you do a guest mix on the label, I actually have one of my little stickers right here. So the label looks like this.
It's blurry.
See if I put it in my face.
Oh, there you go.
These are some little stickers that we first got. You get a custom keychain that is, that artist's whatever design they want on that on the logo. Essentially, it's a keychain to either put on your USB, have around just to kind of have a reminder to keep practicing.
Yeah.
But it also the logo itself was this idea of it's a blank canvas, and the artists and the people that are contributing to the label really add the color and creativity and spark to it. And that's what really makes us run. That's what makes us go.
Yeah.
As those people. I mean, there's only so much I can do myself. For it to be what it is now. And it's certainly challenging to go a lot to learn a lot of these things, and sometimes learn firsthand by making mistakes, and sometimes learning with successes, and to not let those get to your head too. So it's been really awesome. I mean, I think that's it's been quite a journey so far, and we've only been around really technically for I guess was April 2021 that I kind of announced it. That's what was kind of, it was around my birthday actually. I was like, this would be a nice little birthday present to myself, and announce the label.
Yeah.
And then our first release came in that November.
So if I am a brand new listener, and because I know you mentioned intention, and that's that word seems to be following me a lot here lately, right? So if I'm a brand new listener to lots of practice, what should I be expecting?
Well, our main thing is that we're a label without labels.
Okay.
And that's kind of where that came along with the logo creation of like, okay, this is a label that doesn't really have a label on it. And all genres are truly welcome. I think we've had our first release was a really awesome like liquid D&B jungle track from Puff Magic, who was incredible. And then our next was more deep breaks. Our next was a little more housey.
Okay.
We've had everything from kind of the houseier vibes to like more hard hitting, breaks and bass, from remixes to one of our recent releases, which is more kind of hip hop beats, but a little bit more juke and footwork too. Like we've had everything under the sun, and like that's what I love about for me listening to music. I listen to just about everything.
Yeah.
And so I wanted kind of the label to be able to reflect that. And I think I thought a lot about like, do I want it to have a particular sound? Do I want it to, do I create the sound that way? But I think a lot of it was letting the artist kind of curate what it sounds like, and whoever reaches out and wants to be a part of the project. And we do the same thing with artwork too. It's like we work with the artists on like what they want their cover art to look like. Do they have inspiration? Do they have a design already they have in mind? Is there an artist or a designer they look up to that they want to have be a part of this and be a part of that project, and really creating as much ownership for the artist as we can, and making it more of a partnership and in a way to uplift them versus us taking the reins and adding identity that isn't there for their project. We want them to be in charge of that.
For sure. That's dope. Now, having a label that's kind of like the like an umbrella and everything kind of falls underneath it. Um, do you find that people tell you you need to be more focused on one type of genre? Because me personally, I DJ house, techno, UK garage, Afro,
Mhm.
all that stuff, and sometimes it's hard for people to wrap their mind around that. Like one time they'll hear me playing this, and then they hear me something else. They're like, "Oh shit!
Yeah,
Like
what's going on?
what's going on? Like what's going on?" So is it kind of hard or not hard per se? Is it do you find people saying that you need to be more focused on a genre?
You know what? I think sometimes it's me telling myself that,
Oh,
and I
okay,
think
okay.
that's some of that self-talk of like, should I focus on this? Like, do I need to do that? But I think that's I haven't had anybody really say explicitly like, you guys should focus on this or focus on that.
Okay.
I think that's what's interesting is that it is kind of the way to keep people on their toes a little bit. Is like
Yeah.
what's going to come out next, and being open to all these different genres and different artists. And I think it also opens us up to tons of different artists and different creators and that have different sounds and have different approaches to their sound. And I think that's been a really cool experience. Is that like focusing on one genre is awesome, and I love labels that do so, and I love labels that have a curated sound. And I think ours is just curated a little bit differently. It's kind of wacky.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how things are generally. It's just everything's kind of wacky, and you never know what you're gonna get. And trying to just be, I think a part of the label mantra too is lots of practice, but also kind of being present in those moments.
Yeah.
Of this is what we got going on right now. We're going to put our all into it. And the next thing we got, because it's a little bit different, doesn't mean we're going to change our approach. It just means that we're going to continue to support that and support things that are different and unique.
Really cool, bro. Really.
Thank you.
So you mentioned earlier that you have a party tonight, like a
Yeah.
event tonight. I want to explain a little bit of that, and hopefully I can get some footage from the party and then insert here.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Brian actually, who's I mentioned before, is going to be doing some photos, and
Mhm.
we're actually going to hopefully be recording
Cool.
not only the sets but also a video from those sets too.
Nice,
So we'll
nice.
have a little GoPro action that'll be there. So this was actually we've had a couple events at Townhouse before down in their basement, and we've kind of taken things slow when it comes to events for the label, and really the focus has been on the music, getting it out there, and kind of figuring out what that looks like, and really making sure we have all our ducks in a row there. And I think one thing I learned from Green Room too is that sometimes it's okay to move a little bit slower.
Yeah.
And to slow things down. And I think it's I get excited, and I'm very about like, let's do the next thing. Let's do the next thing. Like, I want to do a bunch of things at once. Like, we got to be out there. And that's another reason why it's so awesome to have Maddie in my corner too, is that she sometimes reminds me, it's like, okay, let's slow it down a little bit. And it's been good to remind myself of that, because it makes those moments when we do something, we do put on a party, or we're taking action, it makes that a little bit more special too, I think. And I've learned that a little bit. And so this event at Townhouse, we actually did some in the past, and we kind of lost connection. There's a bit of a gap in communication with Townhouse, and we wanted to come back. And I was actually talking with Maddie about, where we wanted to go next as far as events goes, maybe some venues here and there that we wanted to approach. And then that night, someone who I had actually spoken with back in 2020, we were talking about different events and possibly some gigs here and there. She out of the blue hit me up and was like, "Hey, I'm the new talent buyer over at Townhouse. Would you want to do something here?" And I was like, "Oh wait, yeah, let's do it."
That's
So
perfect.
it's one of those things. I think it's putting that thing out in the universe and talking about it and kind of being super intentional about it, I think brought that about. Also maybe a little bit of a coincidence, but that was really cool. And so it gave us an opportunity to shine a spotlight on not only the label but some artists. Mad Gaz being one of them, but also Fun to Be Jane, who I'd met recently and is a good friend of Maddie's too. And she's doing some really awesome things behind the scenes with some awesome festivals, and has played all over too. So
Nice.
it's going to be a really fun night.
That's dope. That's dope.
And it's it's one of those things. It's a Thursday night. Like, tickets are cheap. Like, we just want people to come out and have fun, and that's what we're all about. Is just having fun with this and making the most of it.
Yeah. What's the vibe going to be like tonight? The I guess the overall like genre, I guess, or is it going to be wide open, kind of like the label?
Kind of like the label, yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I think it'll be a little bit of a little bit of house, a little bit of techno here and there, but also just some fun breaks and some bass and so hopefully some fun spin back moments. That's always one to hope for. But yeah, I think some high energy stuff.
I always see, Alex from Sweet
Chocolate. I was
that
literally the person that I was. he was the exact same person I was thinking of, actually.
Yeah.
When we did that. There was one time it was back when we were doing Townhouse, and I was playing with Ryan OFDK,
Mm-hmm.
and we played this salute edit. What is it? I'm blanking on the actual name of the track right now. It's a salute edit, and there's a huge moment in that track. And actually, I think Drew Vandal plays it in one of his sets, and that was a set that was going to happen that ended up getting canceled. Unfortunately, we were going to do like a Joey G and Friends for him when he came to LA. But there was one moment in that set where I think it was Michael Frazier who came up and like out of nowhere just came from like behind the booth and just scratched the wheel and just started spinning it. So that was really cool. It was the multiply dub. The salute plays. Yeah. So that was really fun. And so that's what those shows are all about, really. Is just like bringing like that family together and just having fun. And opening that up to the people that want to, it's one of those places, especially Townhouse, that like, it's not like a warehouse where like you have to have a ticket to get in, or like, you have to know about it, or, kind of be in the know there. It's like people are going to come in off the streets.
Yeah.
And walk into that bar, maybe not knowing like, what the vibe is down there. And we want to make sure that we're open to those people that are coming down to experience that for the first time. And maybe that's their first experience really hearing a lot of that music, or kind of getting into that vibe. And they're not used to that. And we want to make sure that we're welcoming too. I think that's a big part of the environment and the people that we want to be. Is that as much as it is like your kind of internal family, you want to be with friends, and opening that up to everybody, and sharing that experience with everybody, I think is a really cool opportunity that we have when we put on shows.
That's dope. That's dope. So, bro, we're almost at the end of the podcast. So we started this last season. Questions from fans, but this time we're going to do a little something different. So we'll just focus on DJing right now. So from your very first set DJing, right?
Ooh. Yeah.
To now,
remember
what would you tell yourself?
Oh, wow. It's a really good question. I think, oh my gosh, it's something I never really thought about. It's like, I think I haven't really thought back to that first set very often.
Yeah.
The first set I had was, I had my like little controller that I had to set up. And I had to like move the CDJs and the mixer aside, because I had my little like DDJ controller with my laptop, and that was like the only thing that I was comfortable with. I hadn't really practiced on CDJs yet, and a mixer. And I was nervous, and I think that like, I think the thing that I would tell myself now, or tell that person then, is like, just have fun with it.
Have fun.
I think that sometimes it's like, I get really nervous about even still like creating sets and like trying to make sure that the right song is there. And like, even in the moment, like getting nervous, like, are people really vibing to this? Like, do people like this? I don't know, like getting very in my head about, even when I'm up there. Sometimes I've noticed myself, even like pictures, some recent sets, and like a picture of me, and I'm like, I look like I'm having the worst time. But in reality, I'm like in my head, like trying to think, and like not really, I like kind of zone everything out. And I think the one thing I would say is just, along with having fun, is just being present. And like enjoying that moment, because that moment's going to pass. And yes, there will be others, but like just being able to soak that in, like not worrying so much about, what you're playing. I mean, obviously that's important as a DJ, but, looking up, I think I get very focused sometimes. I'm like looking down at the decks the whole time, and I forget sometimes to look up and see all these people around and people that are enjoying it and just having fun in the moment.
Dope. All right, bro. So let everyone know where they can find you and lots of practice.
Yeah. My name's Joey G. My Instagram is Joey, and then like a bunch of underscores. It's actually like 8 underscores and then a G. I did that because I was trying to get Joey _G, and then it didn't work, and then __G, and then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna put a bunch in. But there, SoundCloud also, Joey G mixes, and then lots of practice is pretty much everywhere music is sold, on Bandcamp too. Instagram is lots of practice, and we hope to talk with some more fans that are interested in learn about more music and listen to music. And this has been really awesome to be on your show and get to talk about it a little bit. I appreciate the opportunity.
Man, we love to have you on, bro. Thank you very much for coming on. This is another episode of the All Things House podcast. Peace.